it's going to be this close there as well.
4 hours, and we're live on Sky Sports with the whole lot. So if you don't make it to trackside, then don't forget to join us. If you do make it to trackside, don't forget to set your video, because you want to see all the races.
Again, absolutely no question. Now then, Hayden.
We're back to filling in words together,
I know,
aren't we,
yes.
Julian? The partnership, we just can't get rid of each other.
Don't give us a pause, I'll finish the sentence. James Hayden in 4th place. You've already tipped your hat to him, Keith. I've got to join in. He is doing a magnificent job there for a bloke who is severely beaten up. And he might even be closing in on the front 3.
Well, that's what I'm watching for. That's why I paused for a split second there, just to see. Reynolds, I think, has closed up on Hodgson. We'd already talked about Roger Marshall to your left, Ben Atkins to your right, the team owner. This is the Red Bull mob. And, of course, they had a first and second, courtesy of Walker and Hodgson, ending up in the sandpit at Alton Park. They're looking for that again here, aren't they?
They are, but they're currently 3rd and 4th. Oh, that's a bit of grass tracking from Izzy.
I think he's gone up the slip road just there. That's Izzy gone right off at Sears. Oh, and a great flame coming out the rear end. So, well, you could say, really, Walker's cooking, couldn't you? More action coming up in a moment. Steve Hislop is having a torrid time here at Snetterton. He's been up the slip road, and now he's got to do all the work again. Poor old Hizzy. Well, oh, and Hodgson has made the pass while we were watching Hizzy. Hodgson has made a pass on Walker up into Sears. We're on the Revit straight now. So Walker is stalking once again, but he's being stalked by 2 Red Bull Ducatis. That's a bit of a worry for him.
4-man dice for the lead, because James Hayden has pulled the gap in, joined his teammate chasing the 2 protagonists from race 1.
Makes you wonder whether Stalker made a bit of a mistake in the Sears, and that's what's boxed them all up. But it's Hodgson now in front. Around Coram for them. This is going back to Sears corner. That's where Hodgson made a brilliant manoeuvre up the inside of Chris Walker. Chris Walker made no mistake at all, unless of course he was a bit slack on the brakes into there, which of course I could never accuse him of. And up the inside came Hodgson.
That looked a pretty decisive move from Hodgson to me. He meant that for sure, and he has a 1/4 of a second lead this time round. We're past the halfway mark. Hodgson, Walker, Reynolds, Hayden covered by 3/4 of a second. There's the front 4. This is what you call superbike racing.
This is Sears corner. That was where Hodgson made the move on Walker before. Walker will have made a note of that. We got back markers homing in out of the haze on the Revit straight. But number 4, Neil Hodgson, the INS Ducati. Man, Hodgson looking so good. They put their aggro behind them from Alton Park as riders, although the teams are still battling it out off the track. Walker, though, he holds no malice towards Hodgson. Hodgson holds none towards him. They are just battling for the title. They'll let their teams fight it out in court for any extra points they can manage.
I'm still looking forward to the chicane.
John Crockford again. John Crockford, he's had a really bad weekend. He had a big crash in race 1. He managed to get his second bike out, and he finished top privateer in race 1. Now his weekend is over, but at least he can walk away from it. So Crockford there pays dearly. Meanwhile, Hodgson gets straight under a back marker. Walker slipstreams him immediately through. It's all happening at Sears corner today.
It is. Lee Humphries, the back marker in question, number 30, was the first one to get him. That was Mara, wasn't it?
No, it was Sean Emmett on the Honda.
6,
Sean Emmett on the Honda is about to be lapped. I think Honda have got some major problems this year, and in fact I can tell you, we'll get some news at Silverstone, but I've heard some big rumours about Honda this year in Great Britain. And don't forget, if you watch us live at Silverstone, we'll bring you the interviews that should clarify that. I can't talk about it right now.
I can't wait for that one, Keith. Sounds like an interesting bit of insider gossip there. But Hodgson leads from Walker again at Snetterton. Reynolds right there. James Hayden, well, he can hang on to the great shots.
Yes, they're doing it just to keep you quiet, Julian, I know.
I don't mind.
You can have a seizure in a minute. Up the centre straight then, across the line now. Hodgson on bike 4 leads. 2, Walker pops out the slipstream. He didn't make a serious passing manoeuvre there. 3 is John Reynolds in 3rd place. 5 is James Hayden with the club foot, I'll call it for something else, in 4th place, and looking pretty close still, mind you. He won't want any more injury, and he's likely to get injured if he joins in with this lot.
His teammate has a quick look round, sees who's following, sees it's Hayden, gets down under the bubble again, down the long straight. That is Sean Emmett, you're quite right, on the Honda.
So number 6 on the Travis Perkins Honda Britain bike goes through. At the S's though, 4, Hodgson.
Reynolds is looking
like John Reynolds.
Got intent, hasn't he?
Yeah, John Reynolds, when he's in a fighting mood, he's a quiet, thoughtful character off track, but catch him I always get scared of John Reynolds when his races finish prematurely because he hasn't actually burnt off all the adrenaline. Out wide goes Walker, and underneath him will come John Reynolds for sure. John Reynolds and Walker.
Yes.
That bike slid out wide now. Has he got a tyre problem? Because certainly Walker slid out wide there and straight underneath him. The pace of this race has been pretty hot. Maybe Walker just had he was into Coram a bit hot maybe, ran out a little wide, and making him pay was Reynolds. We can take another look at it. Walker, yeah, just out too far. John Reynolds sliding right underneath. They're all on the same maker tyre, so you can't blame any brand for that. They're all on Dunlop tyres.
John didn't need a second invitation there, did he?
Now,
absolutely right on the money. Now's the big question, Keith.
Indeed. Now we are about to be answered by John Reynolds. Gee. Chris Walker taking a good long look at John Reynolds. John Reynolds looks to his left to see if Walker's going to sneak round the outside. Back marker cutting across the nose of Reynolds there. Now then, down the back straight. I'll tell you what, that Ducati, Roger Marshall and his team have done a great job. That Ducati looks very, very quick down the Revit straight and holds off Walker's Suzuki, which is no slouch in a straight line.
That looked even, Stephen, to me at the very least.
Still it is Hodgson that leads, but the challenge now comes from John Reynolds in second place on the Reve Red Bull Ducati. Ben Atkins will be having kittens. Hodgson then at Coram, but again Reynolds looking so far through this corner. Well, the team are all waiting along pit wall now. I can see Atkins stretching his neck. And there, big frame out the back of Walker. Onto the centre straight then. Well, maybe some of these guys contemplating a kiss from Paul Denning if Walker manages to pull it off again today.
But they're looking worried now because Walker looks like he might be in tyre troubles. He might be as the two Ducatis start to edge away in front. No, they don't, because Walker's right on them.
I was going to say, it looked okay to me just there. It looked like they were all laying rubber, turning it out of Richie's up towards Sears. So out of the haze at Revit straight, all in a line, looking for the big hole in front of them that the bike in front punches through the air. And Reynolds to the inside, but Hodgson is good on the brakes of the S's. And that is a real, you're feathering the front brake all the way into that turn, you're putting all the weight on the front of the bike, and you're coming in there at something like 165 miles an hour. So really, you've got to get it something like right. John Reynolds is an expert at accuracy. And look at the way he's sitting. I'll tell you what, he's sitting on Hodgson's tail, only on lap 16 and a 22. But Reynolds suddenly looks to me like a race winner. Absolutely.
Back markers in the way soon. Will John try and use them?
Could be critical, and it's really the luck of the draw, how they land. It's like chucking a deck of cards on the table. You never know which way up they're going to turn up. So 77 comes into view. Yes, Brett Sampson. 29 is there too.
Oh, and Hodgson will get to them first. They haven't got him on the straight. And Walker is right there. Hayden closing up again into the back markers.
Dear me. Oh,
don't get in the way.
I tell you what, if Reynolds had run wide there, Walker would have gone straight up the end. Oh, look at Walker right out on the old airfield part of the concrete. Take another look at this.
Let's have a look at this, yeah.
Chris Walker out wide looking for an advantage through the back markers. They part just in time to let these three through into Sears corner. That is John Reynolds behind Neil Hodgson with Chris Walker running right out over the rough old concrete. It's okay, but there's no advantage to be had there.
He looks like he's overriding now to maintain the pace, Keith. Is that fair?
Yeah. Lap 17 of 22. I'm right with you. Oh, I tell you what, he's sat down at the back of Hodgson there as he was on the brakes. That's another corner where you're heeled over on the side of the bike. When you're asking for the front brakes to bite, the rear end of the bike wants to come round. Well, 99. We look down our list. That's Dave Hill, I thought it was.
No, the old man.
He was running an SP1 Honda. I think he's on a Kawasaki now, though.
Yep, old king of brands.
In the privateer states. But he's about to get zapped by the three fastest worksmen. Hodgson, Reynolds, Walker.
And then Hayden, who can close up to the leading trio when there's some sort of interference, either a swap of position or back markers, but he can't run the pace when they've got clear tracks in front of them.
Gordon Blackley next up. The Gordon Blackley, you remember, that went into Coram corner. Oh, and through has gone Reynolds. Oh, forget about the privateers when the works boys are dicing. Reynolds goes through. That is a beautiful manoeuvre from Reynolds. Well, he had a look at it a lap or two ago. That time he perfected it. Well, this is where the Reve Red Bull mob, who are noted for their celebrations, are going to be jumping about. The series leader, the former British champion, remember, he's been there before. Blackley finds himself put between Reynolds and Hodgson, and you said it, Julian, that was a superb move. He was a bit lucky to get him just where he wanted him. That may well have given him the break.
But that move at the end of the straight, Keith, where we thought, no, Hodgson will never be outbraked there, and it was on such a clean move, John Reynolds.
I think John Reynolds learnt a lot from the way Hodgson let the brakes off and rolled in, and I think